I'm Leon Todd for G66. Welcome to another Tuesday Tone Tip. Today we're talking about guitar tones with headphones. I'm on the Axe 3 and I want to show you how I would take a basic amp and cab tone and transform it for a more pleasant headphone experience. Now, before we even get started, I just want to say straight up, trying to chase the sensation you get when you are moving air with a guitar cabinet or a high-powered FR speaker, it's never going to happen on headphones. It's best to just kind of come to that acceptance with it and realize that headphones are their own thing. And while they may not be a real experience, they can still be an unreal experience. So hopefully some of these tips and tricks will really help you get to that unreal experience. I guess the big advantage is with headphones, it's super easy to get great stereo effects happening. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But first, I want to show you the kind of core amp and cab tone I'm working with, and then the things that I would do to just make it a little bit more pleasant when I'm playing my guitar, normally late at night, sitting around practicing and annoying my wife. Okay, I've got the USA lead mid gain fired up with one of my own cabinets. This is the core guitar tone with my PRS Custom 24. I'd encourage you to put a set of headphones on and play along. So that's a typical sort of patch that I would use through my studio monitors, or if I was recording high gain guitars. If I was going to take this out live, I would do certain things to it, but I'm going to do different things to it because I'm listening on headphones. The first thing I want to do is play around with a few parameters in the cabinet block, because at the moment it feels like I have a giant 4x12 right here on one ear and another giant 4x12 right here. Like the sound is intensely dry and it feels close. So I want to take out some of that harshness, which is due to the fact the cabinet is a capture of a closely mic'd guitar cab. This has nothing to do with it being digital or it being modeling. If you mic up a real guitar amplifier, say with a dynamic microphone right on the cone, and you listen to it through studio monitors, you're going to have the same experience. So the first thing I would do, because I'm on headphones, I'm going to use some really aggressive high and low cuts. At the moment, I have them at 80 and 8,000 hertz, but you could bring this high cut down to as low as 4,000 hertz. I'm going to start at 4,500 hertz, and if you're listening on headphones, you'll notice the difference here. If you're listening through studio monitors or your phone, this might sound really, really dark, but on my headphones anyway, it really works wonders, and it's so much more pleasant. I might even bring that a little bit lower. Let's try 4,000. That might be a bit too much. It is a little bit too much. Let's split the difference. Let's try like 4,200. That is so much more pleasant on my ears. I'm also going to bring the low cut up because these particular headphones are just a little bit bassy. Way better. I'm enjoying that so much more, and I would really encourage you, don't use these specific values. Use these as a starting point and then tweak them to suit your headphones, because different headphones are going to have wildly different responses. These over-ear headphones sound totally different to the in-ears that I use live, both in terms of their overall response and the kind of general tone going on. So these settings work really nice for me right now. The other thing I like to play around with is to add a little bit of room simulation in the cabinet block. So let's just start by setting the room level at like 30%, just to hear the difference that that makes. It's just going to provide a little bit of space, and it's going to feel a little less close and dry. The other thing that's, I guess, kind of replicating is a little bit of that amp in the room experience. You know, when you've got a real guitar cab and you've got a room, the reflections and things like that are going to be creating differences in phase. They're going to be canceling out certain frequencies. That's part of the magic. And I just find, you know, room level at about 30% with this hall shape and the room size at about 15 meters does the trick. Again, for me, this is such a personal thing with headphones. You can experiment by bringing it right up. Anything over 40% is a bit much for me, but this is what it sounds like. That's starting to sound a little kind of comb filtery and phasey to me. So I like it a little bit lower. And again, you can experiment with the room size. Alternatively, you could use a reverb to do this. And there's lots of reverbs that I like the sound of. Probably my favorite for this sort of room simulation is the Recording Studio C reverb. I'm gonna set everything in here at stock except for the time. I'm gonna turn the time down to about 0.6 seconds. Let's have a listen to what this does. I will turn it to bypass and then I'll engage it. That's quite nice, and those reverb tails on there, they're not that long, so it still kind of feels, I guess, roomy without being excessive. Another thing you can do is go to the Advanced tab and turn up the early reflections on any of your favorite reverbs. Let's just select a different reverb. I'm going to go for the chorus hall. So there's going to be a big reverb with really long trails. I love the way that sounds, but if you want to kind of make it a bit roomier, turn the early level up. Let's try maybe -6. So there's way more of that kind of initial energy from the early reflections in there. That's a really, really handy trick. You could also go through and apply quite an aggressive low cut to the reverb. Start with 400 Hertz. I think it sounds good. That kind of stops the low end from muddying up there. In general, that's kind of a good reverb tip as well, especially if you're playing live. So that's what we can do with the reverb. We could also create some kind of spatial effects as well. And one of my favorite things is the stereo enhancer. So let's go to the enhancer, and for playing with headphones, this is maybe the only time I actually use this block. I do other things live, but this is so enjoyable with headphones. You can really hear that kind of faux width. You know, everything sounds wider and more enjoyable just at the stock settings. Let's hear it. I've got that giant reverb on there again. Let's go back to the Recording Studio C setting that I had before, just so we can hear the enhancer a little bit clearer. Again, this is the enhancer with way less reverb going on. And again, this kind of isn't sounding super like an amp in a room anymore, but it's just enjoyable to play. And for me, I'm often just sitting around practicing with headphones on. So if I can get a tone that, you know, doesn't make me want to put my guitar down, that's the most important thing. And these kind of tricks really work well like that. Of course, what you can do now is, if you want to play around with stereo panning effects, you can do that. It's a whole bunch of fun. One thing I like to do is add something like a multi-tap delay to do a kind of circular delay style thing. Let's just put it in line with the main grid. I'm going to bring up a multi-tap delay, and I have this saved into my blocks library. So let's do that. I think I've got it in here as just circular delays. That would make sense. Something like that anyway. That one's really enjoyable because there are different delay times on the left, right, and center channels in there. Same thing with ping pong delays, or if you want to have panners or any of your stereo effects. I think that's one case where actually, playing around with headphones and appreciating those stereo effects is one of my favorite things to do. I'll give you an example of that. Say if we replace this multi-tap delay with the tremolo and panner, and let's just bring up a panner, and I'll set the rate, let's set it around 3 Hertz or something like that, and you'll be able to hear this pan around the stereo spectrum. Now what's really fun with this is we can increase the width. Let's try 200%. And it creates a different pattern. Let's crank this. How far can it go? Beyond 300%? I could, of course, combine the delay I had with this panner as well. And you guys are starting to get the idea now where you can do all these kind of things. And I think just really appreciate them. Whereas if you were just playing through a mono guitar cabinet, you'd lose all the magic of these stereo effects. So let's bring up something like a nice stereo delay into the stereo panner. Maybe I'll bring the width down so it's not quite so crazy. And I'll play you all out with some headphones. So pretty straightforward tips here. We just had the really aggressive high and low cuts in the cabinet block. We had the cab room simulation. Alternatively, we had the reverb block where we could take our favorite reverb and either add a little bit of low cut or turn the early levels up. And we had the stereo enhancer and then any kind of stereo effect that you like. If you have any specific questions, let me know in the comments below. And like I said, I'm going to play you out with some stereo delay, the panner, and the enhancer. I have no idea what's going to come out. This is going to be fun. Thanks for watching.